So another operations task that you can definitely outsource to an assistant is bookkeeping. And I know a lot of people are a little weary about giving someone access to their books. And honestly, you should be. Even if you use a bookkeeper in the US, they will be on view only to access QuickBooks. And programs like QuickBooks are pretty hard to follow unless you are extremely familiar with them. So I'm going to show you how to give your personal assistant setup with very little to no experience. They don't have to be an experienced CPA or bookkeeper. No experience in accounting, somebody can still do this. But by having your assistant organize the books for your business and doing this in a way where they don't actually have access to any of the processes, this will massively cut down on your tax bill at the end of the year. Your assistant will be able to categorize everything and prepare it for your CPA. And this way, when it comes time to do your taxes, your CPA bill will be significantly lower because you've completed all of the grunt work for them. And also, they'll be keeping up with your expenses for the year. So when January 1st rolls around, you'll be able to get your taxes filed a lot sooner as well. And you also won't be scrambling at the last minute, trying to get everything organized and then just sending basically a heap off to your CPA. And your assistant is going to need to create two things in order to effectively do this. The first is the balance sheet and the second is the profit and loss statement. And in this packet, we're going to give you a step-by-step guide on how to create each of these products in Google Sheets so that you do not have to spend money on accounting software. And this is meant to be step-by-step. Even someone who has never done accounting should be able to follow this. So to get started, you're going to want to give your assistant access to bank statements or credit card statements. And there are two ways to do this. Depending on your bank, you can give view-only access to your bank account. And the other way would be sending out bank statements to your assistant at the end of each month as a PDF. And if you're extra worried about security, you can always edit out bank statement numbers or anything like that, so they're just looking at the actual data. So for the profit and loss statement, in order to create it, they are going to need to create this income statement using Google Sheets and using bank and credit card statements. So it's an excellent way to track the financial performance of a business over a specific period. And usually this is done on a monthly basis. And so here's a detailed guide on how to prepare a P&L statement from scratch, especially for someone with minimal bookkeeping experience. Okay, so let's dive right in. So step one is to set up your Google Sheets. So you're gonna wanna open Google Sheets and create a new blank spreadsheet. And then you're gonna wanna name this spreadsheet to reflect its purpose. So you can just start with P&L statement for company name and then the month and the year. And then step two is to prepare the header. So in the top cells, center the title and the period the statement covers. For example, in the cell A1, type profit and loss statement. In A2, type the company name. And in A3, type for the month ending in date. Step three, you're going to want to define the columns. So you'll need columns for the type of transaction, the amount, and maybe a column for notes if needed. So typically these might be labeled as description, amount, and notes. Step four, list revenue. So start your first section with revenue. This includes all money in the business has earned during this month. So beneath revenue, list different sources of income such as sales, service income, whatever it may be. And based on your review of the bank and credit card statements, you're going to want to enter each amount next to its respective description. Step five, you're going to want to calculate total revenue. So below your list of income sources, sum up all the revenues to get total revenue. And use this formula right here. Sum B, start row, B, end row, where B represents the column with the amounts listed. Step six, list expenses below the total revenue. Begin a new section titled expenses and list out the expenses that the business has occurred over the past month. This includes items like rent, utilities, office supplies, credit card payments, especially for business purchases, whatever else it may be. And again, categorize these based on your review of the statements. Step 7, you're gonna wanna calculate total expenses. At the end of the expense list, sum all the expenses to find total expenses. Step 8, calculate net profit or loss. Below the total expenses, calculate the net profit or loss that is calculated as total revenue minus total expenses. Enter a formula like this one right here. Step 9, you're gonna wanna do formatting. So use formatting tools to make the document clear and easy to read. You might be wanting to use bold for the section headers and the total rows, and perhaps maybe some different colors for revenue and expenses. But adjust column widths as needed to ensure all the data is visible. This is really important, it has to be readable. And then step 10, you're gonna wanna review and regularly update. So every single month, you're gonna wanna go over all the transactions, look at everything from last month, see if anything's changed from the credit card statements or the bank statements. And at the end of the month, update the P&L statement with new transactions and data to keep track of the company's financial performance. At the end of the day, this is really just data entry once you get the hang of it. And then step 11, you're gonna wanna save and back up everything. Google Sheets is gonna automatically save, and it's gonna automatically keep your backup of the workflow, but you're gonna also wanna take PDF copies so that if things are edited after, you have that snapshot of what it looked like at the end of the month. So additional tips that I can give is just basically regular communication. If there's an expense that comes up that you don't know how to categorize, ask. Always make sure that you're looking, getting a full statement from the P&L, and that you're constantly keeping up with expenses so the business can make informed decisions. So this approach is going to be the best way to maintain an effective P&L statement using your available transaction records. And it's especially useful for any sort of financial documentation. And so what we're going to do in the packet that we give y'all, it's going to have a very clear step-by-step list. This was just kind of an overview, but this is going to walk you through every single scenario, how to categorize every single type of transaction, every single different category listed, and it's going to be extremely comprehensive so that you'll have a step-by-step guide on how to fully process the books. And again, you're still going to have a CPA look over this, but this is really just to get all of your statements. Every single charge that goes in and out of any of your accounts or any of your credit cards needs to be recorded in that profit and loss statement as an expense. After you get the P&L statement, next we're going to move on to the balance sheet. And balance sheets determine the company's financial position based on transaction. So here is how you can do this in Google Sheets with a monthly update process. So step 1, you're going to want to gather the documents. So as a business owner, all of those documents should have already been turned over, bank statements, credit card statements, any other in and out of the account, and any other financial information available that is going to impact the balance sheet. So invoices, receipts, things that haven't appeared on statements yet, anything that's relevant is going to need to be collected, right? So you can even just print out invoices, especially ones that haven't been paid. So step 2, you're going to want to set up your Google Sheet. So start a new spreadsheet. Name your spreadsheet with the company name, followed by the month and year, just like your corporation, balance sheet, January 2027. Step 3, you're going to want to input data. And so you're going to create 2 main sections on your sheet, one being for bank transactions and one for credit card transactions. And you're going to want to label the first few rows with headers like date, description, debit, and credit. Debits are money out and credits are money in. And so step 4, you're going to want to categorize the transactions. So go through each transaction on the bank and credit card statements, enter the transactions under the appropriate headers, use the description field to categorize each transaction. So office supplies, service income, utilities. In the packet, we're going to have a full list of categories that your assistant can use. And then step 5, it comes to identifying assets and liabilities. So assets, these are going to include bank account balances, accounts receivable. So even anything that's coming in is still going to be included in that, and any significant prepaid expenses as well. So liabilities, so these include credit card statements, loans, or accounts payable. So the money that you are owed, but you have not actually been paid yet. And then step 6, you're going to create an asset and liabilities table. So below your transaction data, create a new section titled asset and list each asset type, like bank accounts, receivable, and the ending balance for the month. Then you're going to create another section titled liabilities and list each liability type, like credit card payable, accounts payable, and then actually list the amount due. So in step 7, we're going to calculate equity. So equity is essentially what the business owns versus what the business owns minus what it owes. And at the basic level, this can go month by month with equity. And there might be additional draws or owner's investments, so those also need to be factored in. So list these under a section titled equity. And step 8, summarize and balance. So at the end of the assets and liability sections, calculate the totals and ensure the equations assets equal liabilities plus equity holds true. And if it doesn't, you're going to need to check your entries. This is to make sure everything's accounted for in the business. Step 9, you're going to want to update regularly. So at the end of the month, you're going to want to go through, review all the statements, and do all of this over again. And regularly updating will help catch and correct errors early and also provide ongoing insights into how the company is performing financially. Step 10, you're going to want to do some formatting and saving. So you're going to use bold, italics, and borders to make the sheet easy to read. Google Sheets will autosave, but you can also manually save versions for the backup, which I would again highly recommend, just like we did with the P&L statement. And just an additional tip, if you're unsure about where to categorize a transaction, create a temporary uncategorized category and ask for clarification. So by putting it in this category, this is something that you can just do a hit list with your assistant so that it lessens your time and you can just go through what those transactions are. You can do that on a weekly basis. And so this process will help you maintain a basic balance sheet and will overall help you just see the financial aspects of the company. So again, these are processes that I would highly recommend doing. Again, you do not have to have a financial degree to do this. We have laid everything out for you. We've already made the templates for you. So all you have to do is have your assistant go in and do these processes that we just kind of overviewed and outlined. It's extremely thorough in the sheet. Anybody can do this. They just need to take the templates, take your bank statements, and really just transfer the data over. And additionally, they're going to create those hit lists for you. So anything that you're missing in the business, you're going to be able to sit down and get through in just 1 or 2 sessions a month.